In 2009, Domino's Pizza paid millions of dollars to air commercials that said their own pizza tasted like cardboard. Their CEO said it on television. All of their advertising used the same messaging. They even put it on their boxes. Inside the marketing industry at the time, the consensus was that they were committing marketing suicide. What happened next is one of the best examples of counterintuitive brand strategy I can think of in the last 20 years. And almost no business owners have the courage to do what they did. Aloha, I'm Brent Shiratori, and this is Aidia Marketing. Marketing is changing fast, and almost everyone online is selling trendy shortcuts that promise results with no effort. What they don't tell you is most of these shortcuts are one-trick ponies or for just a small slice of companies. Real marketing is built on human behaviors that don't change. Learn those, and you'll keep winning long after this year's shortcuts stop working. In this video, I'm going to walk you through what happened at Domino's between 2008 and 2010, the state of their business at the time, the decision their CEO made that almost no one in his industry would have advised, the campaign they aired, and the financial result that's still hard to believe almost 20 years later. Then I'm going to land on the one question almost no founder would let themselves answer about their own company. Most brands run from criticism. They post curated testimonials and pretend the bad reviews don't exist. They create surveys that are designed to lead people to saying positive things for them so their reports look good. And rather than actually trying to get real, honest feedback to find out how they can get better, they issue corporate non-statements about how they're dedicated to customer satisfaction. Domino's did the opposite. They ran towards the criticism. They said on the record, with their CEO's face attached to it on TV, "Our pizza is bad and we're gonna fix it." That move that the entire marketing industry thought would kill them turned out to be the single most valuable thing they ever did. And I want to explain why it worked. Because almost every business owner watching this is sitting on a version of the same problem. Something about your product or your service that customers already know might be broken. And you may be trying to avoid it, hide from it, pretend that it's just a minority issue for a small set of your customers. But honestly, as long as you keep hiding it, you keep paying for it. So let me walk you through what Domino's actually did. By 2008, Domino's Pizza was in real trouble. Their same-store sales in the United States were dropping. Their stock had fallen below $9 a share, and in customer taste tests, their pizza was finishing last. They were behind Pizza Hut, Papa John's, and even behind frozen pizza you can just buy at the grocery store. The complaints in their own focus groups were brutal. They said the sauce tasted like ketchup. One customer in the research footage that Domino's later aired actually said Domino's pizza crust, to me, is like cardboard. Now think about that for a second. That is what their core customer was saying about the product. Not a competitor or a hater on the internet, actual paying customers. And what do you think most companies would do in that situation? Let's rebrand! They run a new ad campaign about how much America loves pizza. They redesign their logo. They enlist influencers and celebrities to vouch for them. They build an app that offers discounts and reward points and hope that distracts you from the taste. What companies almost never do is look at the actual product and say, the problem isn't our marketing. The problem is what we're actually selling. That was the first hard thing Domino's did. They went looking for the real answer, and they didn't flinch when they found it. What they found was that they had been treating recipe development as a cost center for decades. Year after year, they had quietly swapped in cheaper cheese, retooled the crust to be faster to make, and engineered the sauce around the cost of shipping it instead of the experience of eating it. After enough years of that, the pizza was actually worse than what most people could make at home. This is the part almost nobody talks about in their case study. The marketing problem was a product problem. No amount of clever advertising was ever going to fix it. So in 2009, their CEO, Patrick Doyle, made a decision that on paper looked insane. He didn't bury the focus group footage. He didn't redirect the agency to make a feel-good campaign. He told his team, we're going to take the worst things our customers said about us, the things we used to fight to keep out of the press, and we're going to put them in our own commercials. The campaign was called the Pizza Turnaround, and the structure of it was simple. First, the CEO looks directly into the camera and reads the criticism out loud, including the line about the crust tasting like cardboard and the line about the sauce tasting like ketchup. He doesn't soften the language or put it into marketing speak. He just read the actual verbatim quotes of what real people actually said about why their product sucked. Then he told us what they did about it. They threw out the old recipe. They reformulated the crust and changed the sauce, the cheese. He showed the chefs in the kitchen and the work they were putting into the recipe development. And then he says something that almost no Fortune 500 CEO has ever said in any major ad campaign. He says, "Please try it again. And if you still don't like it, tell us. We are listening." You have to understand how unusual this was. Big brands don't admit that. Big brands don't admit fault. They don't put their CEO on television to apologize for the product. They don't show the bad reviews to a national audience and then ask for a second chance. The marketing industry watched this in real time, and most of the consensus was that Domino's had just ended itself. There were trade write-ups predicting the brand would never recover. There were people calling it the most reckless ad campaign of the decade. Then the numbers came in. The first full quarter after launching the campaign, same-store sales in the US jumped 14.3%. To this day, that is one of the largest single-quarter same-store sales jumps a major fast food brand has ever recorded. And the stock, the same stock that had been sitting under $9 a share in late 2008, became one of the best-performing public stocks of the entire decade. Through the 2010s, Domino's outperformed Apple, Amazon, and Google. Imagine that, a pizza company. Why? Because they admitted their pizza was bad, and then they actually fixed it. Here's the part that almost every founder agrees with in theory, and almost none of them apply in practice. When I sit down with a new client, I usually ask them a version of the same question. What is the thing about your product, your service, or your delivery that you secretly know isn't good enough? And almost every business owner has an immediate answer. Their website is embarrassing. The pricing page confuses their own sales team. Support is slow. Onboarding takes weeks longer than what they promised on the sales call. Or the product itself just hasn't been updated in years. Every business owner knows their weaknesses, and a lot of them simply choose to spend their marketing budget covering it up rather than fixing it. Because they think admitting the real problem will be more expensive than just running ads. Fixing it means having to audit their entire operations process. They may have to let people go and find a better suited team. It may mean having to face the reality that their current product isn't relevant anymore, and they need to develop a new one that meets the needs of their customers today. So instead, they pour money into better photography, web banners, search engine marketing, a new logo, maybe a podcast. They try to optimize their marketing funnel. They A/B test headlines. They buy more traffic to a page that was always going to fail the customer the second the customer arrived. That is what Domino's stopped doing. They stopped paying for advertising that asked the customer to pretend the pizza was fine. And the second they stopped doing that, every dollar of marketing they spent suddenly worked harder, because the marketing was finally telling the truth. And that truth was that they had actually fixed the product. When you fix the broken part of your business, your marketing gets easier. When you keep hiding it, your marketing has to do more and more impossible work because it's trying to convince the customer of something that actually isn't true. There's nothing that will get you to lose more sales than a highly effective marketing campaign for a poor product. This is the rule that Domino's story exposes. You can buy attention, you can buy a click, you can buy a first purchase, but you can't buy the second purchase, the referral, the review, or the loyalty. Those only come when the product is actually worth what you said it was. Over the years, I've come across numerous brands that try to argue their positioning set them apart. The most trusted bank, the most caring insurance company, the most authentic Japanese restaurant. But these claims are impossible to defend. Who can say what is the most authentic Japanese restaurant? Authentic to who? Is a sushi restaurant more authentic than a ramen restaurant? Is Michelin star luxury service with attendants dressed in exquisite kimono serving set courses on lacquered dishes authentic? Or is it a grandma serving recipes passed down from her grandmother in a small hole in the wall place? Trusted, caring, authentic. These are throwaway positioning words. The reason that kind of positioning doesn't work was the same reason Domino's old advertising didn't work. The words were making claims that were meaningless, and no amount of media spend was going to close that gap. A great brand is the honest signal of a business that does the work. Domino's understood that in 2009. Most of their competitors, almost 20 years later, still don't. So the question I want you to sit with after this video is the one I started with. What is your business pretending isn't broken? Not the small stuff, not the type 1 page 3 of your sales deck, a real problem. The one your team has stopped raising because they're just tired of raising it. The thing that customers may settle with for now, but will quickly leave you as soon as they find a better alternative. Until you fix that thing, you can hire the best agents in the world, run the best ads, A/B test every headline you've ever written, and you'll keep paying for a problem that costs less to fix than it does to hide. Domino's didn't get rewarded just because they apologized. They got rewarded for apologizing and actually doing the work to fix it. The apology without the work would have been a stunt. The work without the apology would have stayed invisible. They did both, and the market rewarded them for it for the next decade. If this got you thinking about your own business, watch the video I did on how to improve your homepage in about 10 minutes. It's a great companion piece to this one because most homepages are doing exactly what Domino's old advertising was doing, covering instead of fixing. And if you want more videos like this on how real brand strategy actually works, subscribe to the channel. I post new ones every week. Remember, you don't need to buy more ads when you have better ideas.